So, good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome Simon Noon, the Managing Director and CEO of Boab Metals, with ticker code BML, Bravo Mike Lima. Today, Simon is here with us to discuss about the recent developments and milestones achieved at the Sorby Hills Project, which is one of Australia's largest undeveloped lead-silver-zinc deposit as Boab Metals advance towards production, with the first lead-silver concentrate expected as early as 2026. A lot of our members are already familiar with this stock and own shares, and I'm sure many who don't would actually like to know more. So good morning, Simon. How are you today?
I'm very well. Thank you for having me on. And,
Fantastic. So look, Simon, could you please provide an overview of Boab Metals and its silver lead deposit in Western Australia?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So Boab Metals is obviously an ASX listed company. It would have been listed now for almost 20 years. I myself took over the company in 2013, so 11 years. We've got a long, successful history in mineral exploration, both in base and precious metals. But since 2018, when we acquired this project, it's very much become the flagship asset of the company and a project that we're now obviously pushing towards to production. And it's ideally located. It's in the northern area of Western Australia, very close to port, which happens to be Australia's closest port to Asia, very close to infrastructure, and yeah, just ideally located close to a town as well, where we can leverage a lot of employees and businesses to support the mine.
Excellent. Well, look, the Sorby Hills Project boasts sizable and high quality lead silver resources. Can you elaborate a little bit on that, please?
Yeah, sure. Look, it's a 47 million tonne resource. There's about 1.5 million tonnes of lead metal there, over 53 million ounces of silver, which is very significant. And just the silver alone makes it one of Australia's largest undeveloped silver projects. So yeah, it's most importantly, there's what we've spent a lot of time doing over the last 6 years is really bringing up the confidence of that resource. So it's one thing stating a resource, it's another thing to have done enough work to state, indicated and in our case measured resources with that.
Excellent. Look, I want to go back a little bit here, Simon. So you said that the project is located near a town. Could you give us a little bit more understanding about which town that the location is near as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So the project is around 50 kilometres northeast of the town of Kununurra, which today has around 7,500 people. It's a town that in the past has supported the Argyle diamond mine, Panoramic's nickel mine to the south, and essentially, obviously, with Argyle now into rehab, and the Savannah nickel mine closed down due to a reduction, obviously, in price of nickel. The town's looking for that next project, and we're ideally located. It's very much a drive-in, drive-out opportunity, around 35 minutes from town.
Excellent. I guess I want to segue is coming from WA myself, Kununurra actually has a prolific history in the Western Australian mining community. So 50 kilometres proximity is actually quite close then.
Yes, yeah, it's ideal. And we're about 140 kilometres from the port of Wyndham.
Excellent. Thank you very much for just elaborating on that to give us some context. The next part is can you share the key findings of the DFS and the more recent FEED study completed for the Sorby Hills project?
Yes. So last year we completed the full feasibility study for the project. That was completed through quite a time of historically high inflation, and so we took the approach in that feasibility study to go out to tender for a lot of the costs, most of the major costs, including the EPC and the mining contracts, and that went to tender in the December quarter of 22. And one of the things that we recognised at that time was obviously the lack of competition. Everybody had so much work in the pipeline that we found that the response from contractors was a bit light on, and we thought that a lot of the pricing was probably inflated. So we saw that as an opportunity post the DFS. And so what we did was we moved into what we called a feed study. So we press go on the detailed design, the front-end engineering for the project, and then we package that up. as a feed study and refreshed all those economics. And that was just completed the middle of this year. And indeed, it was confirmed, really. We've seen a significant drop in mining costs. We've seen a boosted NPV. We're now over the 400 million in NPV. The IRR's got stronger. So it's a stronger project. And on top of that, I think with the movement in inflation, very quickly studies get outdated. And so the market can now have confidence that, the prices haven't moved around too much since then. Largely, the CapEx was very similar, the EPC being the main component of that. So, yeah, look, it's got to become an even sharper project is probably a summary of that. We'll still produce, very similar amounts of concentrate. There'll be one shipment a month, around 10 to 12,000 tonnes of concentrate out of Wyndham. It's a lead silver con. It's the cash costs have come out at around 37 cents a pound, which is very competitive, and I'm happy to elaborate on that a bit more later on. But yeah, look, it's a great, it's easy project. The studies really shows what a great project it is, and low risk. We've got over 80% reserves in the production target, so very much low risk. All the early years are the very highest category, being proven reserves. So yeah, I think the study was a great outcome.
Tremendous. It sounds like timing is excellent. So look, upon its development and commissioning, Sorby Hills is anticipated to emerge as one of the most cost-effective lead producers globally. Can you provide a bit more insights into this, further backing off what you just talked about?
Yeah, absolutely. So as part of, when you build a project, you're also going to go out for a portion of the funding as debt. And to support that application for debt with various banks and government agencies, etc., they want to see an independent report on the project. One of those independent reports is a marketing report. So it really looks at the product that you're going to produce, and where you sit on the cost curve in production of those particular materials. And look, we're pleased to say that independent report confirmed that Sorby Hills, on an ex-works basis, sits in the first quartile. So a great result there, and people can, I think, take confidence going forward that when you get rise and fall in metal prices, that Sorby Hills in a very solid position.
Excellent. And this report, could you give us a brief date when this was recently finished or commissioned?
September 23.
Okay, perfect. So that would still be very recent.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I think now, what segue into this, what are your thoughts on the prospects of lead demand, considering the ongoing EV revolution?
Oh, look, great question. I think a lot of people mistakenly think that lead might be disappearing. Lead is the demand for lead is absolutely growing. You mentioned EVs. There's a lead battery in most of your EVs. They control the 12-volt system, the safety system. They're still very much the go-to battery for uninterrupted power. So telecommunications towers, backups for hospitals, typically anywhere where you're not moving the battery storage around. They're a very important part of this sort of transition to a cleaner future.
So the demand, you don't think the appetite won't diminish?
No, and look, we've published. People can go to our website and have a look at independent research into the demand of the product, and it's clearly growing. What will change, particularly in transport, is the usage. So, for instance, currently we have X number of ICE vehicles using a lead battery. As we move forward and that ratio changes towards hybrids and electric vehicles, it just means that those same lead batteries will go towards that side of the market because there'll be a lot more of them.
Excellent. I think that was generally a concern, right? So there's a rising demand for silver due to the metal's application in renewable energy technologies. How would a bullish outlook on silver impact Boab Metals?
Yes, look, silver's a very exciting space as we sit today. The beauty with this project is it's a base metal project. It's the lead price is typically very stable. In fact, one of the most stable metals on the London Metals Exchange. And so that's good when you're trying to build a project, because lenders want to see that stable metal price. What's really interesting is, we've got 25 to 30% of the revenue coming from silver, at sort of longer term pricing. Now, to get a silver project up and running, you've got to fund it. And obviously that's difficult if you're depending on a high silver price to do that. The beauty with this project is essentially the lead pays the bills, right? And you've got a margin that's fully exposed to the silver market, which is pretty exciting, and it means that we're in a great position going forward, where we can actually build a mine and actually, rather than just speculation, we can sell silver into the market, as we see these prices rise. I find the silver market very, very interesting. It's obviously, historically we've seen silver rise dramatically and also fall off a cliff pretty quickly. But it's a very different world for silver currently. The industrial demand just wasn't there in the past. And so I think it's a very exciting space, where it could get to when you look at, where gold's moved to over the last few decades versus that movement in silver. I think there's a correction there at some stage, and hopefully we're there to take advantage of it.
Excellent. So can you tell us more about the recent exploration success at Sorby Hills?
Yes. So at the back end of last year, we did some infill drilling, which was largely to support a MET program. And look, that program went very well. We had a little bit of money left in the budget, and so we had an exploration target which sat within the mining tenements, but just 2 kilometres away from the existing reserves. And it was a very high risk target. We developed the target using seismic data. It was much deeper than anything we see at Sorby Hills, but we put one hole in, and we did hit some economic mineralisation, which was quite exciting. What we've done this year is gone back to have a look at, essentially put 4 holes in and around that discovery hole. And look, as we've recently reported, we've tested down dip, and we've seen very similar mineralisation. So I'd love to just keep drilling, to be honest, but the focus for me is very much in getting Sorby Hills into production. But this recent work that we've seen, I think, more than justifies quite a significant drill program in that new area of the mining tenement. What's really interesting is there's a lot more zinc in these holes. Typically at Sorby, for every sort of 10 parts lead, you'll see 1 part zinc. Okay. So not really enough to sort of monetize at this stage. Whereas these 2 holes, from what we can see, it's sort of 1 for 1 with lead and zinc. Okay. We find that very interesting, and I think bodes well for potentially, extensions to mine life and, going underground after the open pit mining. But a lot of work to do. We've got to go back and really have a closer look at what we've found.
Do you think so, if you do move into production in 2026, that drilling will then become the next priority?
Oh, look, very, very much so. I mean, once you're operated and you're not sort of diluting your stock, and you've got cash available to you, there's a lot of, I mean, as an example, the feed and DFS studies have outlined a production target around 20 million tonnes. We've already got 47 million tonnes in this resource, so we're going through less than half of what's there. So there's a lot of potential to further define the resources that are there, increase confidence, but also, I think, brownfields exploration in the region.
Excellent. Now, look, Boab has recently just announced that it has secured an option to acquire the additional 25% of the Sorby Hills project, which will then take Boab's ownership to to 100%. Can you tell us how this has come about?
Yes. Look, this is something that I've been working on now for a long time. It's sort of made no secret of the fact that I wanted 100% of the project. Sure. I thought that was the best outcome for BML shareholders. And, once you've taken this to construction and into production, it's a lot more difficult. So we thought there was an opportunity to potentially secure that option. I'm very, very happy with the way the deal is structured. It's structured in such a way that there's no payments until FID, basically. So you essentially purchase the the interest as you make that final investment decision, and you package that up with the construction finance package. So I think that's a great outcome for our shareholders. And what it does is just paves the way for smoother discussions with lenders. It is a difficult debt market at the moment, and the pool has shrunk somewhat of lenders that are sort of lending into this space. What we had was an unincorporated joint venture, so not the ideal structure to lend into. Doable, but a little complex. So the minute you can talk to lenders on the basis that you can acquire the whole 100% of the project and offer 100% security of the project to lenders, then the pool, gets bigger and makes the discussions easier. So that was certainly a lot to do with the decision, but really pleased that we've got that done, and we can now sort of reconnect with lenders and off-takers on the basis that we've got access to that 100% of offtake and 100% security.
So help our viewers understand. So you've been working on this for a significant time. What sort of timeframes has that been to bring this all together to acquire 100%?
Oh, look, we've been talking probably for a year and a half now. It's not an easy transaction because Kununurra have been a fantastic partner for us. They've contributed their 25%. They've been very supportive for everything that we've done. So we're kind of sorry to see them go, but ultimately, from a commercial point of view, I really wanted that option to bring the interest back together again as 100%. So it's as I say, it's taken time, and but we've got there.
And one more on times. Does acquiring 100% mean that it benefits, obviously, the shareholders, given the fact that you can make swifter decisions and proceed faster?
Absolutely, yes. And when you're in operations, running a joint venture has additional costs as well. Everything is much easier if you're the sole sort of owner of the project.
Tremendous. Well, look, the next milestones at the Sorby Hills are the offtake and funding. Do you have any news regarding offtake agreements for or funding prospects?
Yeah, I guess what I was just saying sort of leads into this really, but quite some time ago now we tendered the offtake. It's a really clean product. It's in demand. We could sell the product many times over. What we found was a very competitive process. We saw sort of markets sort of decline generally, and so what we saw with that demand was an opportunity to ask an off-taker to assist with financing. So we got to a certain stage with the offtake discussions, and we said, okay, that's great. Let's park those for a moment. Now tell us how you can help us get this project built. It's took longer than we would have hoped. But ultimately, these discussions are very important. You sign these offtakes and you've got to get them right, because the implications of them getting wrong once you're into production, can be quite costly. So I'm hoping that we can bring those to a finish fairly soon. We do now just to sort of re-engage on the basis that we do have that access to 100% in the longer term. And so that's essentially more leverage for Boab. As I say, it is an in-demand product, and so that puts us in a better position. Excellent.
Look, now, Simon, I'm going to need to address the elephant in the room now with you, which is the downturn in Boab's share price since our initial buy recommendation. What would you actually now say to our members who have bought into BML at a much higher share price, and how can we explain to them that they should be, and the patience that they need to exercise with your company?
Sure. Yes. Look, we all like share prices to just keep going up. Hopefully more than myself with this particular company. The reality is that any sort of seasoned investor would be well aware is that the sector's down. To put that into perspective, I think the median ASX materials sector on the ASX is down almost 30% over the last year. Okay. Boab share price, I think, is probably 5 to 10% over that same period down. I'm not saying it's okay to go down, but you know, we've gone down with the market. It's not project specific. Equities have been very, very difficult. In particular, companies that are looking to develop a project have been, you know, I says, you know, most investors have really just looked past them on the basis that, you know, they're not going to be able to achieve funding in this current environment within, you know, costs blowing out,
Sure.
mines closing down, sort of left, right, and centre. So what's really exciting though is that these markets always present opportunities. I think that Boab today represents an astonishing opportunity. We've seen the NPV go up from DFS to feed 11%. We've seen the silver price almost double. What are we now? Yeah, it's up 50% in the last 12 months. Yet we've got a share price that's gone down and a project that's moved forward with further de-risking. In my eyes, that represents a fantastic opportunity. When markets pick up, and I can certainly see some green shoots there at the moment, you know, it's these sort of easier projects that get going first. I mean, this is a project it's very shallow. It's 20 meters from the surface. You're close to port. You've got a highway through the project. The processing is very, very straightforward. It's a simple flotation plant. It's got a lot going for it, and I think, yeah, honestly, I think it's a great opportunity for investors. But certainly, you know, agree, we need the market to start picking up, but it always does.
Well, look, you know, with I guess where I'm trying to think here is we've got some stimulus coming from China. So that's quite exciting. I do want to know, though, I think that there has been some obviously timeline challenges with the project. And given now the recent news flow that's coming from you, do you see any further timeline challenges moving ahead, or do you think it's a pretty clear run from here?
Look, I think that we needed to get that option agreement in place for sure. You know, we've still got several approvals that we're waiting on. You know, they can be difficult timeline wise, but I can see a clear road ahead from here. You know, building a project is also about timing, and when the market doesn't permit you to keep moving forward to that production stage, you've still got to keep the project moving forward. And that's what we've done. Admittedly, you know, we have seen timelines move, but ultimately we'll get this project built, and you know, all our shareholders, I think, will be rewarded.
Excellent. Thank you so much for your time, Simon. So if it's okay with you, if any of our members or our investors have any questions, they can email us at info@eastcoastresearch.com.au or info@sharesandvalue.com.au, and we'll forward them on to your team to respond. Would that be okay?
Absolutely.
Tremendous. Thank you so much for your time today, Simon.
Pleasure.